The dorm room, that rewired friendship, Facebook's origin, rise, and what it became. By the end of this story, you'll know the one dorm room feature and the two pivots that turned a campus directory into a company that sits between billions of people in the world's conversations. Keep that in your back pocket as we rewind, because once those pieces click, Facebook's whole playbook lights up. The spark, the dorm, the name with a the. Here's the opening scene. Winter of 2004, Harvard Yard, snow and server fans humming. A small team ships a site called The Facebook. Real names, real photos, real classmates. The proposition is simple enough to feel inevitable. You don't search the web, you search people. Inside that first week, the traffic needle doesn't just move, it snaps. Very quickly, the project outgrows its dorm cables, and by that summer, the crew decamps to Palo Alto to chase the curve in the only place that moves faster than they do. The atmosphere is equal parts code sprint and pizza box archaeology. A young founder does two underrated things early. He keeps the product clean to the point of obsession, and he insists on one identity per person. That combo, clarity plus accountability, separates the site from the messier networks of the era. Momentum attracts adults in the room. A savvy product whisperer becomes the first president. A quiet $500,000 check buys time in servers. The name drops its the catalog widens beyond the Ivy League, and suddenly the question isn't if the graph will grow, it's how to guide it without breaking the vibe that made it work. Newsfeed, backlash, and the first big lesson in scale. In 2006, the homepage wakes up. Instead of hunting profile by profile, updates come to you in a newsfeed. It feels obvious now, but back then it spooked people. Overnight, the social graph became a live ticker. The company blinks, adds controls, explains the change, and keeps the feature. That move matters. It's the first time the service asserts a principle it will reuse for a decade. Ship the thing that improves the experience at scale, then bolt on clarity and controls until the fear turns into a habit. By year's end, the gates open beyond campuses. A social operating system is no longer a campus privilege. Here's my read. Newsfeed is where Facebook stops being a directory and becomes attention architecture. It turns time into a resource and teaches the company that tiny ranking choices can move oceans of behavior. Platform, like, and the engagement engine. The following year, the company does something bolder than it looks. It invites outsiders to build on top of the graph. Overnight, dorm room developers are shipping games and tools to millions. Some were noisy, many were brilliant, and the lesson was unmistakable. If you let others extend your network gets harder to replace. 2 years later, a tiny interaction lands that quietly rewrites internet grammar. People stop typing "me too" and start tapping a button. Fun fact a lot of folks don't know. Inside the building, that button wasn't always called like. For a long minute, it was nicknamed Awesome, and the team argued whether it should be a star or a plus. The final choice was so simple that it hid how powerful it was. A single tap, standardized positive feedback, trained ranking systems, and gave creators a universal yes. Not every experiment aged well. An early attempt to stitch commerce directly into the feed crossed wires with privacy and had to be rethought. But even the missteps taught the same lesson. Scale multiplies both delight and risk, so you ship, you listen, you adjust. The IPO, the mobile panic, and the most useful apology. In 2012, the company rings the bell and gets an expensive wake-up call in the same season. The world has gone mobile, and the early bet on hybrid web tech makes the app feel sluggish. Then comes the rarest sentence in big tech. We were wrong. The rebuild to fully native apps happens at sprint speed, performance jumps, and suddenly the same product feels new again because waiting vanishes. In my view, this is the real inflection point. It proves that Facebook isn't just a growth story, it's an execution story. Admit the miss, fix the stack, and keep going. That same year, a tiny photo-sharing startup joins the family and skyrockets into the cultural center of gravity for visual life. 2 years later, the world's most beloved chat app comes aboard, and a VR bet puts a headset in living rooms years before it feels mainstream. Message by message, the Blue app turns into a constellation. Growth, responsibility, and the cost of being the default. When you become the default way billions coordinate birthdays, elections, fundraisers, movements, and memes, you don't just scale features, you scale consequences. The company builds new guardrails, stands up independent review, and rewrites parts of its data playbook after a series of hard lessons. Some viewers will argue it didn't happen fast enough. Fair. The important bit for our story is that the product philosophy starts to include an explicit obligation. Make powerful tools, then design for the worst case uses, not just the best. Hidden gem while we're here, those early status updates used to force the word is. As in Alex as of eating ramen. People rebelled, the product team listened, and the sentence structure loosened up. It sounds tiny, but it's a perfect snapshot of what made the service sticky. The willingness to sand down friction when a billion tiny paper cuts add up. From Facebook to Meta, and why the name change actually tracks. By 2021, the company does something that made late-night monologues write themselves. It changes its corporate name. Underneath the memes was a real tell. The business had already become a portfolio: feeds, messengers, photos, groups, marketplace, video, a VR platform, and a growing AI stack. The rebrand called that shot and made room for longer horizon bets without confusing the daily apps people use. Meanwhile, the core keeps iterating. Feeds blend short video, tools for creators and small businesses turn side hustles into livelihoods. Cross-app messaging shrinks the friction between circles of friends. And then there's the second pivot I promised. The company starts publishing and scaling open-weight AI models, folds those smarts into search and chat across its apps, and quietly makes the phone in your pocket feel like it gained a second brain. Agree or disagree with the open strategy, it's undeniably on brand. Lower the barrier to creation, grow the ecosystem, and let the network effects do the compounding. The undertold thread that ties it together. If you strip away the headlines and the quarterly noise, the through line looks like this. Ship a simple social primitive, watch how people actually use it at scale, then either double down or course correct. That's why a campus directory could absorb photos, messaging, groups, events, video, and commerce without losing its center. The hardest balance in tech is to move fast without breaking trust. Some chapters nailed it, some didn't. But the engine, observe, refine, repeat, kept learning. So what were the one feature and the two pivots? The feature was newsfeed, the moment attention found a home. The first pivot was the mobile rebuild, the admission that speed is a feature. The second was the portfolio shift, from Facebook the app to Meta the platform, where social, messaging, VR, and AI rhyme instead of collide. Before we land the plane, I want to hear your take. Which decision mattered most? The feed gamble, the mobile mea culpa, the acquisitions, or the turn toward AI and immersive platforms? Drop your read in the comments. I feature sharp ones next episode. If this breakdown earned your time, tap like so the algorithm knows to push more deep dives your way. Hit subscribe so the next story drops right on your home feed. And if you want extended cuts, sources I dig into, and early drops, consider join to support the channel. Super Thanks keeps these long-form investigations coming and spotlights your comment at the top. All right, keep that trio in mind. A feed, a rebuild, and a rebrand. Once you see them, the rest of the moves stop looking random and start looking like a system.